Hello, future.
And hello, future Buzz.
Hello, Shayne. Thank you for coming. Let me just get Don on here and welcome to our spaces. Hold on one second.
You got it.
HBar Punk and Tom, you can talk for a minute while I invite.
For sure.
Thank you.
Hi, Shayne. It's nice to meet you.
Likewise. Glad to be here.
Great, and it was great to see you. Great to see you on the Higdon 2-year anniversary video. What feels like that must have been. It feels like a long time ago. It already feels like a lot's happened since then.
Exactly. I certainly feel that way.
Yeah. Or I like the comment that whenever there's a busy day, then you can say, well, at Higdon we call that a Wednesday.
Precisely. That's exactly right. Or a Thursday.
Or it's Thursday's day, of course. See, I'm already out on the week.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be.
Hello, hey, Don. Thank you for coming. I think that's everyone for now, and other people are going to come and welcome Shayne and Don. The foundation is very, very important to us all, and we're absolutely excited and thrilled that you could come on our spaces today, and so we could get to know you and you could get to know the community better. So I wanted to just mention to people, I know that all our Higdonians out there already know a lot about the foundation, but your mission is to remove the barriers standing in the way of innovative ideas, and that's just so important for our community, and all the things that you have in providing project funding and operational support and project awareness, of course, for the greenest of the green tech, Higdon. So let's look into the potential together and see what's going on. So Shayne, would you like to introduce yourself to the community?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys and gals for the time today. I mean, it's certainly great to engage with the community, and we hope to do this in multiple ways regularly. Donald and I have spoken, and we believe we have to, in order to continue to grow and win the community, we have to be a part of the community. And this is a first step in doing that. So thank you guys for hosting and letting us be here. So I'm Shayne Higdon. I, have been a software executive and in software for the better part of 25 years. And so I, have certainly appreciated, the evolution that is happening and the innovation that's happening in the space. And I'll talk more about, kind of what I think our broad vision is, even more so than what I shared on the live stream. And, I think the opportunities that we possess as both a community and as a civilization, candidly, are endless. And to be playing any kind of part in that, I think, is incredibly exciting. And so to that end, I most recently was an advisor to a company in the fintech space called Higdon, which used AI specifically in the back office to improve and enhance automation around order to cash processes. And then prior to that was president of one of the divisions of BMC Software, a large enterprise systems management company that is helping shepherd some of the elements around digital transformation in IT. So with that, I'll turn it over to Donald to introduce himself.
Excellent. Thanks, Shayne. Yeah, thank you. It's great to talk with everybody and learn, frankly, more about how we can help support different groups like this. And I think this is really just the start, hopefully, of our support. So just by way of introduction, I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for the HBar Foundation. So really centered on thinking around how we can support different components of the community, with our grant giving, with other mechanisms of support that we hope to provide. Prior to the foundation, I was the director of product for a little over 3 years at Higdon. So love the technology, of course, and have loved the community that's really grown around it. I think maybe just to kind of follow on from that and maybe dive into the discussion, I wanted to share just a bit about our mission in the ecosystem. I'm actually going to reference something one of the community members said to me today, which is that one of the things that really inspired them about Higdon is that it's a human-centric technology where you have the ability not only in this community, but with this type of technology to empower individuals, whether that's engaging with different businesses, different applications that they use. And that human-centric nature is something that's very empowering. And I think that's critical when we've thought about how to form our organization, how we behave, as well as our mission. So you'll hopefully see that, when you're engaging first and foremost with members of our team, that we ask questions like how we can help first, because that's really our only goal, is to help empower and expand our ecosystem. But secondly, because I think what's most exciting about this technology, similarly, is those use cases, giving users control over their identities, enabling people to understand the carbon consumption of applications that they're building on, and really taking that, to the deepest level with Hidera technology. So, really excited for the conversation tonight, but just wanted to share that a bit about our mission.
Well, we look forward to hearing all about the mission, and I know that you've received a bunch of applications already for the foundation. How are you handling those, Shayne? You must be a little inundated for just getting started.
Happy to take that one. It's one of those most inspiring things about any activity we take in the community is how well it resonates. So it's been fantastic to look through these applications, seeing how they've come from different parts of the globe, different industries. Maybe just first a few insights that I think are really common across the applications we're seeing. One, people are truly inspired by tokenization, whether it's in building social platforms, payment platforms, collectibles, or any other use case. People see the value that tokenized assets can provide in these applications. And second, we're also seeing that many people who have been building on other networks, whether they're DeFi applications on Ethereum or others, want to support deployment to Hidera and recognize that value it provides. We know that it's certainly been an inundation. So if you've submitted an application, hopefully you've heard from us. We're a good the ways through, but hopefully we'll be in touch pretty soon as well.
And thanks for taking that call, Donald. That question. I told you, Elizabeth, I'm a newbie, and I was speaking to mute when you addressed that question to me. So apologies for that. Donald did a great job answering. But we have received several hundred, applications, and I have gotten personally several folks, both on Twitter, LinkedIn, who have said, "Hey, I'm submitting a grant request. Would love to talk to you." And so, being one person, I can't talk to everyone individually, but certainly am interested in the ideas, and I am doing my best to have that personal touch, with the folks that are spending time to really create these grant requests and whatever it is that they're building. The one thing, and I want to come back, Elizabeth, to the questions that you guys have, but the other thing I would like to do is kind of paint an umbrella of what I think, why I took this role and why I think this is really, really important. For those of you that think about macroeconomics and how the world changes, and, many of you are developers, investors, you've got day jobs. Many of you may have passive income, and this is your day job. If we think about the history of civilization from the first industrial revolution, which was steam, to the second, which was around electricity, and then the third, which is around more technology and IT automation, I certainly believe, and there's a bunch of others, I don't claim to be an expert here, but that we're in the fourth industrial revolution. And a lot of times when people talk about that, they're talking about just the transformation of various elements of society. And I think the transformation is really around a few key areas. around customer expectations, collaborative innovation. If you think about open source technologies and people collaborating around technologies like Hashgraph and Hedera in general, and then different organizational forms. And if you think about big markets like, DeFi and the way NFTs are changing the shape of what we're going to do, I think these physical products and services, and now many of us are working from home. I mean, civilization is absolutely changing shape. And what's exciting about being able to shepherd the foundation is we're getting the opportunity to invest in those leading, today maybe nascent teams, but that are trying to invent the future. And that to me is incredibly exciting, because we don't know if we're going to run into the next, Mark Zuckerberg as a part of this investment, right? Or what we do. And we just want to be on the forefront of that as an accelerator, an accelerant, a support system, and ultimately, as Donald said, an ecosystem that gets built. But I don't want to underestimate and just focus on the fact that this is, new technology and cryptocurrency. I want to also paint the umbrella that this is a massive shift, not just because there's $2 trillion in the crypto ecosystem, but this is a massive shift in the way that we, are going to live our lives. I mean, just think about the internet in general, right? When Netscape, the first browser, Mozilla, et cetera, came out, no one thought that we would have the power that we have in our hand today. And it's been that innovation over time. But now, given that everybody's working from home, different organizational forms are happening. And that to me is exciting. And whether companies become a DAO or, you build your next incredible DApp, on top of Hashgraph, I think the opportunities are endless, and people way smarter than me are going to build something that is going to be impactful. So that's exciting, I think, to me. And I don't want to speak for Donald, but I think that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Well, we really appreciate what you're doing and very much, and getting to know you this hour is going to be awesome. I know that HGraph Punks has a prepared question, and I'd like to offer you the time to ask Shayne or Don that question now.
Fantastic.
Only softballs. Only softballs.
All right. What about Don? You taking hardballs?
Yeah. I'll take the baseballs.
Okay.
So watching an interview with Lehman, he mentioned that the first focus, I'm sure your focus is very broad, but the first focus for HBar Foundation will be on DeFi projects first, which makes sense. Build the ecosystem, then the apps on top. But with the development of Apple cracking down on dApp connections today, do you have a strategy on being able to facilitate innovation in this space? Specifically wallets and interchangeable functionality between these DeFi applications in light of that new news?
Yeah, let me take this one. And I'm going to answer kind of first the question around why you see DeFi as an early priority, and then answer how I think we can differentiate in light of news like that Apple announcement and certainly a lot of other early indicators.
Perfect.
So from a DeFi perspective, if we look at the roadmap of Hedera over the last year, we made, I think, a big leap forward when we had added the Hedera token service as an ability to issue assets natively to the network that could represent anything from a payments token, a regulated stablecoin, to a digital collectible or any other digital asset that the creator envisioned. What's most exciting since then is that Hedera has recently announced that they'll be updating the implementation of the smart contract service to now allow Solidity developers to gain access to those benefits of performance and low cost, and integrate smart contract based applications with the Hedera token service and deploy it natively to Hedera. So we've seen that progress that's now going to really unlock the network for DeFi developers and fully decentralized applications built with smart contracts. And we certainly see that be a strong market across the crypto space, and one that we want to support. Even said another way, it makes application architectures, whether they're DeFi or not, more decentralized and more accessible by a broad base of users. Now, to your second question around how we think about news, like different crackdowns that might occur on different parties or applications, a core part of Hidera's ethos since its launch has been the maturity from a governance perspective and also from a capabilities perspective. So having things like a governing council, which helps ensure there's a structure around decentralized governance and access, is important. But we've also built each of those services I mentioned in a way such that you can enforce compliance when you are application developers in a way that may be required in the future. So maybe just to give you two examples, a feature of the Hidera token service is the ability to specify a KYC flag that must be used for a given token. That means that a developer of, again, a payments token can require that identity approval that's reflected on chain and therefore shows a level of verification or compliance perhaps that they've enacted while still protecting user identity and keeping that off chain. We have a similar model that can be used in the context of the actual Hidera account and the ability to reflect a credential on that account. So for Hidera's technology, I think what we're seeing is the opportunity as regulatory situations begin to become clearer for compliance to be reflected on this novel technology. And it's a heck of a lot nicer to have that feature set kind of built in and available today than it is to try and scramble and fix it as more clarity emerges. So we can't predict directionality when it comes to especially regulatory environments. But I think as we get those core primitives right, make them accessible by industry and decentralized developers, we've got a really unique opportunity to keep growing even as other parts of the industry may struggle.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. I'd like to say hello to Christian. Hello, Christian Hasker. How are you today? Does he have his mute button on, Christian?
Oh, no, my mic is on. I was like, why are you talking to me? I didn't request to speak. Hey, Elizabeth, thanks for having me on. This is definitely Shayne and Donald's show, though, so I'm listening and learning along with you all as well.
Okay, great. Well, we're so thrilled to have them being a welcoming party here. I know that Jim Nasser is here also. Would you like to say something, Jim?
Yes. Hey, everyone. Hey, Elizabeth. Don, Shayne, of course I know Don, but Shayne, good to meet you. Yeah,
I will
really
say
excited
that what is
about
this rebrand to Don? Like, I have worked with Donald for 3.5 years, and I know Donald's uncle, Don Tebow, well, but I do not know this Don Jr. character.
Yes, someone told me that crypto is all about pseudonymity, so this is my my attempt to disguise. No, I'm just kidding.
He's been upgraded since he left you guys.
Well, so I'll tell you, I'm struggling because I've known Donald now as Donald, and then now he's going by Don, and I'm like, so what do I call you? He's like, Donald's fine. So I continue to call him Donald. I feel like it's that big brother, right? You call your big brother by a name that you feel accustomed to versus something else, and so.
Yeah, you'll always be Donald to me, Donald.
That's right.
Tom, I don't know who else to look for help. Bring us back, Tom.
That's it.
Well, it's perhaps opportunistic. While Christian's on the call as well, that I was going to ask that one of the things that came up in that 2-year anniversary call was you said that you and Christian had worked together for a number of years, and so I was wondering, do you have any fun stories about working together, about Christian or anything like that? Just lighten up the other side of the conversation,
Shayne was there the second time I dislocated my shoulder. That was a fun one.
Okay.
That was yes, it was. That was in the office. We were.
I was teaching him how to bowl a cricket ball, Tom.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Shayne,
that's impressive.
Shayne is a long-time baseball player. Didn't you try out for like a major league team or something?
Yeah.
You can tell that story. So I was in the office teaching my American colleagues how to bowl a cricket ball.
The proper way.
Yes, but I've had a bad shoulder for years, and my shoulder dislocated and would not go back in.
Oh, Lord.
And I think Shayne thought I was joking for a little while until he and Billy saw the state of my shoulder. And then I proceeded to have a terrible 24 hours after that. It went downhill very quickly.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, you went to, I did. I thought it was a joke, and I was like, get out of here. That's you know, you're just pulling my leg. And he's absolutely not. And ended up going to the hospital and I think having some excruciating things done. So last time I asked anyone to show me how to bowl it. And
Oh, dear. So Jim, you were saying, did you have a comment or question for Shayne or about the foundation?
You know, I'm excited with what they're doing. I definitely echo the human-centric angle. I think it's one that, as you guys probably know, we are certainly advocates of, and I think we've been quite vocal about. You know, one thing I would say, and this kind of maybe goes back to last week's convos with Deborah. You know, this and Don, I'm Donald rather. This is specifically to your comment around compliance and yeah, look, I think this is an area where, as a community, you know, we can do some more proactive education because this is, you know, I feel like maybe I have a little too much of it, just, you know, being old and kind of beaten up by government and things like this. But maybe this is an area where we can. I'm not sure if it's an HBar Foundation thing versus Hedera or some other, you know, intermediary, but this is not a straightforward area, and it also, frankly, is really changing. Like you mentioned, it's changing, but it's not just DeFi. And I kind of, yeah, you guys kind of know my shtick. You know, we think that there's a ton of everyday, everyman use cases that Hedera can do as well, if not better than any other DLT. But a lot of that really is kind of enterprising and requires understanding of compliance and not just like basic things like encrypting metadata. So I think that kind of proactiveness will probably help grow the community.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. One item that I think we're very excited by that's picked up a lot of steam thanks to the community over the last couple of months has been that Hedera improvement proposal process. So I know that might seem kind of out of the way of advocacy, but what we've seen already is it be a great forum for beginning standardization in some of those capabilities around, you know, zero knowledge proofs and encryption or verifiable credentials across the space. We hope to be very actively supportive of, you know, funding HIPs, implementing HIPs that can surface into the Hedera roadmap. And of course, you know, we're also the first to admit that we don't know everything. We might not know what the next, you know, best standard or innovation could be. And we're, I think, really excited mostly to also keep hearing from the community and learning what the community is seeing as those next big ideas that we can, you know, help accelerate and help realize for the ecosystem, for the network.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking it echoes echoes Shayne's point about how the impact of DLT on society seems to be the only thing that I can think of that has been as big as actually the advent of the internet itself. You know, like that fourth industrial revolution, sort of, it's almost like, and it's a second renaissance all rolled into one. And there's so much driven by community. And yeah, I mean, like, so I suppose my question really sort of comes to, like, do people need to get in on the HBar Foundation quite quickly if they've got ideas? I mean, one of the things that you've mentioned is that this tokenization and DeFi fund that you're looking to deploy over the next 6 months, should people be, you know, if they've got ideas, should they be sort of coming to you or, you know, adding to that deluge that's on your desk?
Absolutely, they should. And in fact, I mean, because, you know, one of the things about this, remember I said in the live stream, we're looking for the entrepreneurs, the, you know, the creators, the innovators, the dreamers. There are some where we are, you know, they've already created a technology. They've got a set of, you know, what I'll call customers or people using their service. And, you know, there's certainly folks requesting big grants, but as a result of that, they're also showing real traction in their idea, right? Their DApp, their exchange, their whatever. we also want to be able to fund that small team of individuals that have an incredible idea, that we can, give $50,000 of HBar to and say, go, let's create some understanding as to what does good look like for the round.
So that's a real big incentive for people to get involved. I think I saw, even I think Rumba the horse had a. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry about that. I got cut off.
Oh, he got cut off.
But as a result of that, to be able to come back and have this ongoing relationship to a point where something's been created that becomes, big enough or is self-sustainable, which is, what we're certainly hoping to do.
And Tom, if I could expand on your question. So it definitely seems like you're looking at both substantiated businesses that are either trying to migrate or understand that Hedera is the future of getting away from a bad blockchain that might have been chosen early on. And then also funding smaller teams that have pie in the sky ideas, but you believe in them that they can do it. So can you dig a little bit into like the details and the foundational elements of these projects that are Venn diagrammed and are shared together that you're looking for to help inform the priority of gaining some foundation funds?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, happy to talk a little bit about that. And I just want to say, kind of to start, you'll hopefully see the support and the grant giving really start to proliferate in the types of support it can provide, whether that's, vanilla grant giving, something tied to actual usage, or in the direction of, hackathon sponsorships, accelerator programs that are particularly geared at suiting a broad spectrum of, organization and persona type. Somebody who just wants to start a project to, funded enterprise line of business type things. So with that being said, I think one of the biggest indicators that we look for across the projects that we talk with are the degree to which those projects and what they're building either accelerate or benefit from network effects. This isn't a secret, right? Hedera is a public, openly accessible network. The value that accrues on that network is largely based on how participants are able to interact with multiple different applications to exchange real value within and between those applications. Said another way, we want to look at projects that with their launch or release or usage of the Hedera network add value to the rest of the Hedera network. So that could be as simple as a wallet that now makes network access easier, adding, again, value to the network by enabling its access, all the way to something as complex as maybe a healthcare credentialing platform, which allows an enterprise, who might want to be leveraging that shared credential system, can now join the network far more easily in the context of that use case. So I know it's a bit of a broad, answer around network effects and how we can map the projects to those network effects. But for us, I think that's one of the really exciting things to see in projects and different ideas.
And I'll also expand on that just real quick those are some specifics around a given project or technology. But I will also say we're also looking at it at a higher level, which is the composition and background of the team that has the idea. Is there a set of knowledge or uniqueness in what that team has that says, hey, these guys, are really thoughtful? Have they done something before that would, make you believe that, this is just another new idea from a really, interesting team, though it might be a brand new idea? That's one. The second thing is the idea. How big is the idea? Is there a way to quantify the opportunity, the market, the whatever it is that it's going to address, so that you get a sense of, how big could this idea become, right? And then finally, are there competitors, even if competitors are, they're doing something like this manually, is there something happening in the market where this is a better mousetrap, right? If you think about some of the books that you read whether it's Ben Horowitz from Andreessen Horowitz and others, some of the things here, in order for them to be adopted more regularly, have to have an order of magnitude impact in simplifying people's life, making it easier to transact business, making it easier to do something different and unique, name your industry. And so those are some of the key elements that I think at a higher level we also look at before we drill down on a specific idea to say, wow, interesting idea, is this worth a little bit of funding, significant amount of funding, etc.
That's really clear. And I want to make one thing clear too that I don't think we spoke about in the beginning, is that HBar Foundation is completely separate from Hedera. There is a wall between the two, and the HBar Foundation does its own thing, and Hedera does its own thing. And Hedera has no, isn't that correct, Christian?
That is totally correct. Obviously, with folks like Donald transitioning from Hedera to the HBar Foundation, we have people at the HBar Foundation that know Hedera very well, and the positioning and history and all of that good stuff. But the HBar Foundation will be completely autonomous and separate, and that's the whole idea here of the council voting to give a large portion of HBARs to the foundation in order to accelerate the overall ecosystem. So getting the right team in place was very important, and I'm personally psyched that Donald and Shayne are leading the charge there, and I know there are some other really great people on board and coming on board.
I think it's really great that some people from Hedera are going over to the HBar Foundation, because the institutional knowledge that they hold is invaluable. Well, I'd like to ask, Deborah Farber is on, and she's the privacy guru, as we all know, and is working with the Hedera Foundation on different white papers and privacy issues. Hello, Deborah.
Hi. Oh, right now I'm working with Hedera proper, just to make that clear.
Okay.
I'm working with Christian directly.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, well, it's great to be here. Sorry I'm a little late.
No problem.
I was actually just getting off a call with Brady to help vet some of the white paper. So,
do you have a comment or question for the foundation, Shayne or Don?
Oh gosh, I mean, I have so many. So, but yeah, I'd like to know a little more about, like, maybe ecosystem. Is this more intake right now of requests for funding, or is the foundation? Do they have a strategy to kind of approach certain verticals? And if so, does some of that involve privacy use cases?
Great question. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, happy to take that one. So again, just to set the context at the start, our goal is to empower users across the board, building on, contributing to, and being a part of this Hedera ecosystem. But we do have a view or a framework that helps drive, prioritization in light of that. We really are thinking about two primary areas that we want to focus the fund on and the ecosystem growth on. One is what I'll categorize as those kind of on-ramps and Web3 native capabilities that we've seen, become critical to a successful crypto economy. That's, marketplaces for non-fungible tokens, wallets for users to control their assets and identities, custodians to support the asset, exchanges to support the asset, and many of those cross-cutting capabilities that make a lot of the use cases I'll talk about next far easier. Privacy, I think, certainly plays a part in many of those offerings. I just personally have seen recently a lot of wallets now start to look at how they can map wallet identities to things like FIDO, standards, different other cryptography standards, and that's, I think, a good sign of maturity in the space. But the second area that's really exciting is around different verticals that are likely to be accelerants of DLT and crypto usage in the future. So if we think about other networks, often there's been these waves of innovation around whether it's NFTs or DeFi. And we think that there will be a set of those waves coming in the Hedera ecosystem targeted around those types of verticals. Work that's going on in sustainability is really exciting in terms of supporting this new asset class and financial markets around that asset class of renewable energy credits. Or in the context of retail and consumer products, where we're seeing people be inspired by some of the innovations in crypto to try and establish a closer relationship with their customers through DLT and tokenization. And, to your point, those are the intersection of traditional business, traditional IT, meeting this new innovative technology. And in many cases, we want to make sure, as we said earlier, that those types of standards can be mapped, to this new world, to this new infrastructure.
And I'll add to that real quick that, you have a lot of regulation happening, particularly in the U.S. and also in Australia and other parts of the world. But I'm more familiar with the U.S. regulation, particularly for publicly traded companies that now have ESG requirements, or environmental, social, and governance requirements, right? Whether you're the social element, you've got a D&I, a diversity and inclusion group now as a part of your company. But you also have the environmental element, where if you're a producer of a good or a service or a product of some sort, you are effectively having to prove what your carbon footprint is in the creation of said good. And so to do that, how do you effectively do that if you're making, widgets of some sort, right? That have a big supply chain, global in nature. And this is real. This is here. It's here now. And so again, there are projects that we are a part of that, we hope, knock on wood, we get to announce, in the coming months that will bring this to light and in a real way. So that you can continue to see the use cases, because I think that's going to be really important. That's what we're talking about here, is use cases, whether it's the enterprise use cases or whether it's these new use cases and workloads and dApps and other things that are getting built. Those are going to be really, really important. But there's also the element here and on how do we translate that into economic value, particularly for the retail investor. And so there's an element of the foundation that we're going to be able to focus on that in earnest, as many of the banks, B of A, Piper Jaffray, and others, Fidelity Digital, are starting to create these crypto research groups, right? And we believe there's a unique message around what we are doing as a Hashgraph community, and specifically around HBar, that we think are going to have sustainable capabilities and economic value once you associate the real world use cases and transactions and everything happening on the network to what it means in terms of holding our token.
If I can expand on that a little, so having a message is a better way to say it. Do you have a plan for the initial rollout of funds to convey the message of the intent of the organization? And is that in a scatter situation where you're going to pick a couple of projects that you firmly believe in across a bunch of different industries to show the diversity of investment into the ecosystem?
Yeah, great question.
Or are you going sequentially, vertical by vertical? I guess might be a CSO question, but what's the strategy behind demonstrating the funds that you give and what that says to everyone watching about the organizations that receive them?
Great question. And Don, I'll allow you to expand on this, but let me say one thing, which is we simply announced the foundation, and we were, we took and followed Hedera's lead, right? Hidera wanted to talk about it, the second anniversary of open access. Their council had decided to, give $5 billion in ecosystem development, of which $2.5 billion goes to that. That was an announcement. That was not a launch. And so there are plans for us in the coming days to do an official launch. And so we're in the process of doing that right now. We believe that there are going to be some additional announcements coming as a result of that launch, which will give you an indication of some of the things that we're doing, in addition to more messaging and more meat on the bone, if you will, to what the foundation has beyond just our mission and our vision. And so just you should know that that will be coming. I'll turn it over to Don to answer more specifically some of the things that you just asked.
Yeah, I think that's a great context. Maybe I would just add that you'll see both through, branded focused funds like this first one centered on DeFi and tokenization. There would be other targeted funds and associated amounts with them for those focus areas. In all of those, we really want it to be openly accessible for people to apply. So there may in the future be a sustainability fund or something focused on maybe the consumer and retail space. And that strategy, will certainly be something that is, as Shayne mentioned, launched, but also, frankly, pretty agile and changing over time. One thing we know in the space is that, the innovation cycles are too quick for traditional strategy planning, and so we want to make sure to be receptive to that market. But the other thing I'll maybe end on is that we talked about a core value of the foundation and our team earlier around being human-centric, but one of the other core values is around being open. So what we want to do is really steer into the curve of this being a public network with, account balances and transaction activity that is public to show, in real time and quite openly how funds are being used and how those funds are connecting back to those broader network effects and network value that we talked about earlier.
That's just absolutely terrific. I wanted to give HBar to the Moon a chance to ask his questions because I know he's at work.
For sure, yeah. Sorry.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I cut the meeting short because I had to attend this. Yeah, first I wanted to thank Shayne and Don for doing this Twitter Spaces with the community. I'm sure everybody appreciates this a lot. First question is kind of a softball to Shayne. I wanted to know how he first learned about Hedera and when he decided to work with Hedera at larger scope, like right now with the HBar Foundation.
Okay, great question. Thanks for asking. So, and I follow you on Twitter, so thanks for the stuff that you do put out. So with that being said, I organically found out about Hedera, and I'll tell you why. So I had about a year ago said, you know what, I think it's time. I wanted to determine, I'd kind of semi-retired. I just wanted to determine, this new asset class called crypto. And yeah, I'd heard Bitcoin, but I was more interested in the underlying technology. I wasn't interested in speculating, but I knew that, and my thesis was simple. The networks and DLT technologies that have the most workloads running on them, I believe, are going to win. If they don't have real world use cases, then I think whatever the value of the token is pure speculation. That was my thesis. So I started putting money in, and I invested in about 11 different platforms. And so as I was researching, I wanted to find those that really had what I felt like were a little bit more enterprise focused, which was, germane to my knowledge and experience initially. And I ran across Hedera, right? The governing council and, the brands there. And as I began to investigate, I was like, who do I know? I need to learn more about this. And that's what I did, was to approach these. And sure enough, I type in Hedera and LinkedIn to see who I'm connected to, and Christian comes up. And Christian and I, as you already had heard, we worked together some 15 years ago. And I just reached out to him. And this was on a Friday. And I said, hey, listen, I'd love to learn more about Hedera and HBar. Would you be willing to have a conversation? And we had not talked in probably 12 years or so at that point, maybe 10. And so he said, great, but this is awesome response. Great, but if you're looking to speculate, we're a bit more of a slow burn. I said, okay, fine, no problem. I don't really care. I just want to understand the technology. And so that next Monday, That was on a Friday, or no, Thursday, and then that Friday they had talked about creating a foundation, and they were going to go look for CEO archetypes. And I reached out I don't know, Christian, what, a day later, and he was like, "This is serendipitous." And so I got on the phone, and he said, "Before we go into it, I just want to know, would you even entertain an opportunity like this?" And so, I always want the option of saying yes. And so I said, "Sure, let me learn more about it." And that's how it happened. And the more I learned, the more I talked to the people involved, Mance, Lehman, Lionel on the product side. It's, ultimately, certainly talked to Donald before I came. I was just like blown away by not just the opportunity, but the prudence that I think Hidera had taken in bringing this to life in a real way. And that they wanted to create something that was long-term and not just hyped. And I think, as Christian said, not just that gives you a sugar high, but something that is truly creating economic value. And having this opportunity, and once I heard all of that, and I spent a couple of months, 2.5 months, really doing some investigation, a lot of conversation, and that's how I got involved before I accepted the role. So
thanks for the answer. And there is a lot of noise in the crypto industry in general. It's really hard to find projects like Hidera, but my goal and a lot of community members' goal is to let as many people know about Hidera as possible and teach them not only about the cryptocurrency HBar, but also all of the great stuff that this project is doing and trying to achieve. And kind of my second question I had is about the foundation itself. When you guys were coming up with this idea for the foundation, HBar Foundation, was the goal right from the beginning to make it independent, or you were discussing between independent or part of Hedera, and what was the decision-making factor that leaned it more towards making it independent?
So 100% independent from the beginning. And I think a person that could also comment more specifically, who was involved in the early conversations even before I was, is Christian, but 100% independent. And given that, the token price, certainly was something that, I think a lot of folks were hoping would go up as there was more workloads and ecosystem built around it. That was great. But there was a limitation in what Hedera could actually do in light of the fact that they, unlike some of the other, layer ones, had minted their own tokens. And so having that, separation, that arm's length, there's things that we are going to be able to do, talk about, invest in, that wouldn't have been prudent for them to do. And so that's why it really kind of the decision to be able to be autonomous, to really truly focus on unlocking the value and building an ecosystem around such a great solution.
Well,
thanks a lot. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for asking such great questions, HBar to the moon. I see that Jennifer Kim is in the house also, if you'd like to ask a question. And we're coming up to 15 minutes before the hour. So I'd like to invite the community to also just request and ask a question. So Jennifer, if you want to accept that, would you like to?
I can fill some dead air if we need to. I got tons of questions.
Awesome.
I'll go for it. I was going to ask about Shayne's software background, so you can go ahead.
Okay. So there's definitely two different strategies to facilitate funds into this ecosystem. It's either try to build the ecosystem of technology and wait for retail investors to come later, or target retail investors from other networks to build out this network a little bit faster. So trying to pull people from Ethereum over to Hedera, or just investing in the architecture fundamentally from the technology standpoint that will then pull people over just based on its functionality. Is there, and again, this might be for Don or Donald, either way. Is there a strategy in trying to gain that retail investors to get a swell of new network traffic using things like NFT marketplaces, wallets, to get more transactions on the network? Or is it to help facilitate the creation of new technologies that are using the network? Or is it a mix of both? Like, do you have a strategy plan based in the next 6 months to a year on what you're trying to target?
Sure. So to kind of broaden the aperture for a moment, I think for those of us who've kind of been in the space for a couple of years, we've seen a few cycles of innovation occur, which are starting to form a pattern around how technology rapidly scales up in the crypto space. The patterns have been repeated with the initial kind of layer one ICO boom, then again around some of the work that was done in governance tokens and IDO and IEOs, and most recently now in the NFT space. And what I'd argue we've seen in that pattern is that there's an initial large amount of retail speculative investment demand that is driven by those hype cycles, if you ask them. People see the ability to potentially get value in some underlying token based on purchasing, holding it, and maybe in the future selling it. Now, that makes for a very disruptive first stage of the cycle. It's very volatile. A lot of people lose their shirts. There's scams left and right, but it does kind of put some of these use cases on the map. Now, what often comes after that cycle, though, is then retail usage, often of those same tokenized applications, that starts to grow. So from a layer one space, it was in, people staking tokens, operating nodes, deploying dApps. In the governance space and liquidity mining space, it was people participating in DeFi, accessing these decentralized financial services, borrowing and lending tokens. In the NFT space, I think we'll see something similar where more utility and actual activity will be driven in actually, trading in marketplaces, integrating NFTs into gaming and other digital experiences, and build the next wave, from those types of usage. So I give all of that background because often the space gets painted as, either just speculation versus quote unquote real activity. Because really, we do genuinely see that there is a retail market in the crypto space of real tangible users of these tangible applications. And we want to be very supportive of those applications and those users. But what's, I think, really exciting about Hedera's position, I think somebody had said, Christian described it as a slow burn. The network and the ecosystem has done the hard work of building the governing model and that early enterprise adoption, which is really going to be, admittedly a longer time frame, but a huge new share of the crypto market that hasn't touched it yet previously. And that's something we're keenly aware of and supportive of. So I know that was a bit of a long-winded answer, but it hopefully gives you a bit of insight of how we think about it.
That was perfect. That was such a good answer. Thank you, Don.
Well, we have a couple of community members. So Nick, would you like to ask your comment or question?
Yeah, thank you very much. So my question, I'm an applicant, but I work primarily in an industry that's a little bit foreign to the crypto sphere. My background is government and nonprofit worlds, and I'm also interested in building on the ecosystem. And this question I also hope will inspire others to put in an application. But the kinds of grant applications that I'm accustomed to generally require a little bit more of a strict format and specifically request certain information up front. And I found your grant application experience definitely human-centered. But I am interested in kind of the information and depth that you'd like to get in those grant applications. If you can tell us a little bit more about what you're looking for and what would make a successful application.
Yeah. So one thing I'll say, again, this was our initial, let's say, large capture format to get inbound to learn about the ecosystem. But as I've been reviewing the applications, I think I found two things most impactful. I think one is, again, talking about your products. Earlier, we talked about the network effects that those products bring. And then the second piece is, what Shayne said, what makes your team unique. There was definitely, a section of those which, hit on some good buzzwords, right? NFTs, DeFi, AMMs, etc., but didn't really talk about the specifics of the project itself or the team behind it. So ultimately, what we're working through with this first kind of tranche of applicants is, how can we learn more about those projects that really piqued our interest, but how can we keep those that might not be yes, this is a grant today, engaged and in the community, so that when a future opportunity comes, whether that's an accelerator for somebody who's on their own finding a team, or when it's a fund focused on sustainability, as an example, that people can easily engage with those areas that are well suited for them.
And I'll just add to that. I mean, one of the things that, Donald said, look, we've got the broad capture, and that was right, because what we didn't want was for the grant form to be putative in nature, to ask for a ton of information that, candidly, you may or may not be ready, and maybe over time we get better at it. But one of the things that we do recognize is that we want to be open. We know that we don't know everything, and we want to be able to learn and grow in the best way possible. And the only way to do that is to try to learn from each of these. And your question is one way that we're doing that as well. But just to continue to learn by saying, okay, you know what, we missed here. We could do this better here. We need this information here, and you're going to see us evolve and change, as a result of starting to make these grants, etc. And I think I hope that as Donald and I and the rest of the team over time talk, that you'll hear just a humbleness and a low to no ego, that look, we don't claim to know everything, but what we do know is that we want to really invest in this community and in the people that are having the creative ideas, that have vision that we don't have, that could be the next big thing. That's what's exciting to us, and we're just going to learn and grow as we see fit, and take your input and feedback. Doesn't mean we're going to be able to do everything you want us to do, but we are certainly going to consider it and hopefully have an open dialogue, which is why, for me, I accept this is my first time doing this. I'm happy to be the newbie, but it's the reason why I personally wanted to have, and I appreciated Elizabeth's personal outreach to be able to do this, even though I was just like, man, I don't know what to expect. It's going to be a bunch of open-ended questions, so anyway, I hope you guys can certainly appreciate where we're coming from. We're going to get better. We're going to get better.
We're really thrilled that you're here. And I know that Jennifer Kim has a question prepared. Would you like to speak, Jennifer?
Sure. Thanks for organizing this. I'm sorry I'm late. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Jennifer Kim. I'm with Sun Water, and I just completed the Clean Tech Open, and that's America's largest incubator for clean technology. And this is really more of a heads up. We have some classmates that have water related technologies, and they are actually going to be licensing soon, so that they can get to sales faster, get to market faster. And I did direct them to the grants as well. So it's just a heads up, because I work with utilities and I work with the government. So our sales cycle is actually very long and very painful. But my classmates, they have a much shorter sales cycle. So I'm just hoping that as we share our software with other clean technology, that they might be considered for grants as well.
That's great.
Okay, so Melissa, let me ask. I think you've reached out to me personally, right? I remember reading this story, or did
No,
I dream?
I did that, yeah.
Okay, all right. So good. Okay, that's great to hear. Thank you for doing that. I can't remember. Like I said, I've been inundated, so please forgive me for not remembering you, or if I haven't responded. But remind me, did you reach out to me on LinkedIn? Did you reach out to me on Twitter?
It's on
Can you
Twitter.
remind me?
And my name is Jennifer
Got it.
Kim. And yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself because we have a lot of cool things coming out of this area, specifically in clean tech. And, we're trying to get as many people to use our software as possible, and therefore use Hedera. So I think it would be a good match.
Jennifer has
Got it. Well, thank you.
a company called Suin Water, which is built on Hedera, that takes water and is helping the Central Valley in California, and also is working with the Department of Water in California. She just got approved for that. So she's helping clean water solutions built on Hedera, of course.
Yeah, just appreciate, Jennifer, those recommendations. I think it's been a few months, maybe even a year or so since we talked, but very eager to reconnect and excited to hear about your progress. That's really exciting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
And I'd like to invite the Oracle's Word community member to speak to the community.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. I just had a quick question, not a softball, but I was just wondering how the foundation thinks about the amount of HBar to grant, given that the price in USD is variable.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll maybe share a few points, and then Shayne, feel free to to add on as well. I think we see HBar, first and foremost as a utility on the network. For a lot of applications, this grant helps them access that utility, whether it's to pay for transaction fees, participate in the network, and that's something that is a great way to benchmark that grant which we give out. But also, frankly, we want people to also share in the upside of the growth of this network and HBar as an asset in the economy on top of it. And so that's another factor we think about as those types of grants are priced. We try and work as best we can with partners to kind of understand what's meaningful for them. And of course, recognizing it is a fluctuating asset.
And I'd also like to just get a couple of community members in here before we end our space. Marla, would you like to say something to the community? Marla's a Hederian in the community.
Oh, hello. Hi. I don't really have any question, but I'm just here to say hello to everyone who is listening right now. And I'm really glad I was able to make it today because I learned so much from just listening to you guys.
Thank you, Marla.
And I just want, thank you. I just want to welcome and congratulate Shayne and Dawn and everybody at the HBar Foundation for doing a fantastic job. And keep up the good work.
Well, thanks, Marla. So you have to tell me, Marla, I saw your picture today of that nice cup of cappuccino. So where were you at?
Oh, I'm actually I live in West Palm Beach.
Okay.
I mean outside West Palm Beach. It's a really nice place. You guys should come and visit and have cappuccino.
Nice. That's right. Anyway, great. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's great to hear the community. I also have DLTLE as a speaker. He's a community member, and I'd like to invite you to speak. DLT Legend.
Oh, hello.
Hello, would you like to speak?
Sure, yeah. Thank you so much for you guys' time, and I love listening to you guys. I do have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you guys. So I'm just curious, as with like Ethereum development, how would you compare Hedera, anyone trying to build on Ethereum, transferring over to Hedera? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Sure thing. The real critical roadmap item that's coming on the Hedera network soon is the improvement to the smart contract service that takes it from learning a new architecture, a new implementation model, to something that's much closer to the copy and paste deployment experience moving from Ethereum to Hedera. What that update will incur is an update to the smart contract service, including leveraging the Hyperledger Bisu Ethereum virtual machine, which is essentially the mechanism to deploy smart contracts to Hedera. So it's going to essentially now speak the language of the Ethereum developer and allow them to get the benefits of Hedera from a scale and cost perspective. And it's really exciting that it also means the toolkit around that EVM, Hyperledger Bisu, and the Ethereum space as a whole now becomes accessible for those people building projects on Hedera with that development model.
Well, thank you so much. Let's get one more Hederian in here. Well, there we have Jepson is on he's our Hedera advocate, a development advocate.
Oh, yeah. One thing I was just going to say, if you're transitioning from the Ethereum space, one thing that's really great about our new smart contract service is that it has this interoperability with our existing services, our Hedera token service and our Hedera consensus service. And what this allows developers to do is it really allows them to find the best of both worlds when leveraging on-chain and off-chain computation. Because as we know, on-chain computation can be expensive, and so you want things to be as efficient as possible when you're building applications at scale. So just wanted to mention the exciting new capabilities there, since you were asking about coming from the Ethereum development ecosystem.
Thank you so much. And I just want to get Coinman in here. Hello, Coinman.
Oh, hi everyone. Yeah, I just want to make a comment as a ordinary community member, and I'm just wanting to say that I'm just so excited about the HBar Foundation. I think 2022 is going to be a crazy year, and I can't wait till we're here again in a year's time talking about all the amazing projects that have come to fruition. So really looking forward to what is going to happen, and thank you, Don and Shayne, for spearheading this amazing initiative. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for the comments, Coinman.
That's terrific. Well, it's about the top of the hour, and I want to just give any last community member an opportunity to ask a question. If not, I really appreciate everyone coming today and saying it's amazing and to have you on our spaces and to have all the community members be able to welcome you to the community. And we look forward to hearing more about the foundation in the near future. And please let us know when your official launch is.
You bet. Elizabeth, thank you guys. Thank you for hosting. Tom Screen, thank you. And the rest of the community, truly appreciate it. We'll do this again.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks to you both, Shayne and Don. It's been great to talk to you tonight. I'm just, there's so many great people speaking as well, so I haven't had to say too much, but it's been nice to talk to you. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you both further in the coming weeks as well.
Likewise. Cheers, everyone.
And thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. I'll end this space as I always do with hello, future. And we'll see you on the flip side. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Appreciate it.